Philly make the Sixers the favorites in the East. Would that be fact or fiction?
I love the Sixers offseason, love the P.J. Tucker move, DeAnthony Melton, Daniel House. But did you say favorites in the East? After James Harden laid another egg in an elimination game? Fiction. The Bucks and the Celtics laugh at the question.
Fair enough. Zach Lowe firing today. Let's go next. Zion Williamson. If I said he's going to be all NBA next year, would that be fact or fiction?
It's going to be tough in the forward category if Kawhi and Paul George and AD are healthy. Cat's kind of a forward now with Gobert there. But I'm going fact. I'm going to speak a healthy Zion season into existence. And someone always seems to get hurt in a Siakam or a Randall sneaks in. Fact, fact, fact. Zion's amazing.
Love it. All right, last stop is Kyrie Irving. If I were to say joining the Lakers would make them favorites in the West, would that be fact or fiction?
Fiction, fiction, fiction. The Clippers are loaded for bear. The Warriors just won the championship. Memphis isn't going anywhere. The Nuggets are reloaded. It would make the Lakers dangerous for sure, but favorites right now, that's a fiction.
Okay, I like it, and I love the spirit with which we treated it today. Let me go, Fidel, though, let me bring you in there from Vegas. The Kyrie of it all, this whole thing is confusing. I said it earlier. Like Kevin Durant has got like immortality to deal with, right? He's going to be remembered forever. Kyrie's just trying to figure out a career and a next move here at a time when he's really in a very complicated place, generally speaking, of his own making. Where does the league see him right now? How, all the people you're talking to in Vegas, how do they see this thing with him?
An incredibly talented player, Greeny, one of the best offensive guards we've ever seen, but probably the player in the league who has the most baggage. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to out here in Vegas who say, Kyrie's great, but I wouldn't want him on my team. Why? Because you can't trust him to be out there night after night. And it's what the Nets just lived. It's what the Celtics lived before them. And it's what the Cavs saw all along. And people say, well, he won with the Cavs and he won with LeBron. That was 6 years ago and a lot of baggage before everything started piling up now.
Yeah, and it does bring the question, and Chris, you had some strong comments on Kevin Durant earlier, which I respect. If Kevin Durant, if the friendship with Durant wasn't enough, the relationship, for whatever reason, just wasn't enough to sort of get Kyrie to the place he needed to be the running mate that Kevin Durant needed, why should LeBron trust that he can get it done? Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I follow what you're saying.
Do you trust him if you're LeBron?
Yeah, I trust him if you're LeBron because I trust LeBron's player leadership. We haven't seen Kevin Durant display that type of leadership no matter where he's been in the NBA. So that's what would make me believe that you would get the best version of Kyrie Irving. Also, keeping in fact that Kyrie Irving is angling for a max contract after this upcoming year. So I think that money being a motivating factor is going to lead him to be a model citizen if he goes out to LA. And so that's why I would think that the Lakers would want to be all in on this situation because what are their options? They don't have a lot of pathways in order to get better. And clearly they're a better team if you've got Kyrie Irving as opposed to Russell Westbrook.
Look, I mean, Zach, I can see this a couple of different ways. One of them is if they manage to turn Russell Westbrook into Kyrie Irving, you could look at that almost as a basketball miracle when you consider how bad it looked from their circumstances. But the element of whether you can trust him or not, and Fidel brought it up earlier, I mean, that's a real thing here, Zach. How do you see it?
It's undeniably a real thing, but look, the vaccine mandate issue is gone. Like Canty said, Kyrie is going to be angling for a big long-term deal, and he can't get one if he plays 29, 41, whatever games again next year. And this is LeBron at age 37, turning 38 this season. He's all in to win right now. He has no time, and he is not going to tolerate anything but all-in commitment from Kyrie Irving. And like you said, Greeny, Russ for Kyrie. Now, there's going to have to be draft pick compensation in there because that deal really helps the Lakers. But that deal on its own, if Kyrie Irving is available, transforms the Lakers from what I think is pretty close to a lost cause as a title contender, a team that can win 4 playoff series, to a team that has at least a puncher's chance of doing that. That's how big a deal that is for the Lakers.
I agree. I mean, absolutely everything hangs in the balance here. And one of the other reasons is because of Anthony Davis, who always sort of hovers above all this, because if he's healthy, he obviously makes a huge difference. Now, he's hoping that his comeback season this year, having played only 40 games a year ago, yesterday at the Summer League action, the general manager, Rob Pelinka, said he has very high expectations for Davis this year. Listen.
he's bought in, and I think he's quietly putting together, one of the biggest off seasons of his career. You can just tell he's got a very serious tone about him, and last year it didn't unfold the way any of us wanted, and I think everyone's going to come back with a chip on our shoulder, and AD's going to lead us with that. I think he's working hard. I know he's working really hard on his body.
All right, so obviously, to some degree, Nick, these are the things that a person in his position has to say. How about the Anthony Davis of it all?
Greeny, everything that's going on with the Lakers right now is cracking me up. You've got Darvin Ham, who's pumping up Russell Westbrook and saying, I've got a whole plan for him, when the front office would love nothing more than to move him this summer and get him out of there. You've got Pelinka saying, AD's having the best offseason possible, when nobody believes that he can actually stay healthy. He was great in the bubble. 3 out of the last 4 years, he hadn't been able to stay on the floor. And then on top of it all, you're trying to add Kyrie to save what is a terrible roster construction. So I'm not buying any of what Pelinka's selling, because the only reason he's saying it is because he has to.
I can't argue with a word of that, Zach. How about you?
I'm buying it. I've already said on my podcast, the Low Post podcast, download it, that Anthony Davis is set for a vengeance season next year. I equate it to how Paul George came back after the bubble when he hit the side of the backboard and was deemed pandemic P and way off P. And everyone looked at recent events and forgot how damn good Paul George is. And he came back and without Kawhi Leonard carried the Clippers to the conference finals. I think Anthony Davis, if he stays healthy, and that's the only issue here, and it's obviously a big one, I think Anthony Davis, if he stays healthy, is going to remind the NBA, hey, remember me? I was in the conversation as a top 5 player 2 years ago. You all forgot about me. I think he's going to have a big, big year if he stays healthy. So I'm buying what Rob Pelinka is selling.
I like it. How about that, Canty? You're a Laker fan. Why?
I'm a Lakers fan, but Zach Lowe must be a bigger Lakers fan if he's buying what Rob Pelinka's saying about Anthony Davis. Because I'm not, G. I'm just not. You're talking about a player that has missed half the games the last 2 years. And stop me when we see a big man that's knocking on 30 years old, that's had injury concerns, actually get healthier as his career goes on. They're like running backs in the National Football League. Once they start knocking on 30, they can't stay healthy, and you're not going to get the productivity. That's how I feel about Anthony Davis, and it's unfortunate because this was supposed to be the guy that the Lakers handed the baton to when LeBron James got to the tail end of his career. But it hasn't worked out as such, and that's why I can't have a lot of faith that we're going to get a better version of Anthony Davis than what we've seen the last 2 years.
Look, I think that's reasonable. And Zach, let's just live in a world where they are able to nurse him there, right? So let's say it's not realistic to think he's going to play 78 games. But if they get him there, if they get to the finish line with a healthy LeBron, a healthy Anthony Davis, and Kyrie Irving on that team, are they a legitimate factor in a Western Conference that is stacked top to bottom? Yes or no at this point?
I think absolutely yes. People have gotten by laughing at the Lakers the last 2 years. It's fun to laugh at Goliath when he's on his knees and struggling and flailing all about. But those big three, they fit together. And I like a lot of what the Lakers did in the offseason. Now, you can just laugh at me and say, Lonnie Walker, Damian Jones, Troy Brown Jr., Juan Scott Anderson, those are 8th men, 9th men. And maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But those are at least young players who fit around those big three, and stars win on the biggest stage. Now, I'd rank the Clippers over them, the Warriors over them, the Nuggets over them, maybe Memphis, maybe Dallas, we'll see. But they have a puncher's chance, and they would absolutely be a factor. No one would be excited to play those three guys healthy in the first or second round of the playoffs, even the teams that I just named.
I think that's exactly fair. And I will finish it by saying, if you don't listen to the Low Post podcast, you're not really a basketball fan to begin with. Everybody does.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, take a look at Chet Holmgren, everybody. This kid has been so good in the Summer League, the number 2 overall pick. He was on the floor last night, Orlando and OKC. Paolo Banchero was not out there. They shut him down after 2 games. He was terrific. A third quarter, OKC is up by 8. And look at the big man to the big man. It's Josh Giddey to Holmgren, who puts it up, and he's good. Next possession is Jalen Williams throwing it up. And it's Holmgren showing you the good agility for the big man. Look at him going up there. The pass a little bit off, but he still manages to get it to go on the other end of the alley-oop. We're in the fourth quarter now. It's a 6-point game for whatever that's worth. This is Holmgren, another slam dunk inside. Holmgren, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 2 block shots. There's one of them right there. We'll stay with the play. His second double-double of the summer league. But look at him getting up the floor, gets himself in position, gets himself a little offensive rebound. He's doing a little bit of all of it so far. So far, so good for the number 2 overall pick. Thunder go on to win this one by a score of 84-81. So Holmgren scores in double figures in all 4 summer league games, shooting 50% from the floor, better than 40% on threes, and got it done defensively.